Hello everyone, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wishing you an enjoyable listening experience. Today, I'm interpreting a book for you, Positioning, The Battle for Your Mind. In the marketing world, there's a saying that has persisted over time: if you only read one marketing book, make it about positioning. The theory of positioning was introduced by Al Ries and Jack Trout in 1972. Since then, it has had a profound global impact. In 2009, Fortune magazine ranked it as the top business classic of all time. Positioning theory is hailed as the most significant concept in American marketing history. Today's business world emphasizes customer-first, customer-centric approaches. However, before the 1970s, brand manufacturers primarily focused on their products, thinking that superior products would sell themselves. The introduction of positioning theory disrupted this product-centric thinking and shifted the focus innovatively towards the consumer's mind. So, what is positioning? Simply put, it's about making your brand stand out in the consumer's mind. This means that businesses should not ask what their product is, but rather, what it represents in the consumer's mind. Building a brand is like staking a claim in the consumer's mind, occupying a favorable position, and holding on to it firmly. Ries and Trout, both masters in their field, have written numerous books to expound upon positioning theory, and this book is one of their most iconic works. Today, I'll combine insights from both of these experts' works and showcase international and domestic positioning examples to decipher this book for you. The book, Positioning, consists of 22 chapters, which can be categorized into two main sections. 1. User's Mind. The author proposes that in an era of product abundance, businesses need to shift their focus from the product to the consumer's mind. The book elaborates on the key features of the consumer's mind. 2. Finding Your Position. The author presents two primary positioning methods: leader positioning and follower positioning. Next, let's delve into the first part of this book, User's Mind. Positioning contends that we are living in an era of product surplus. Relying solely on launching better products or creating a superior brand image is no longer sufficient for companies to survive and thrive in a competitive landscape. The focal point of business operations must shift from product-centric to user-centric. Trout and Ries introduced the concept of positioning to help businesses establish a unique and advantageous position in the minds of their consumers. But why should brands care about their position in the consumer's mind? It's because consumers are surrounded by an overwhelming amount of information and bombarded by countless advertisements. Their minds are like sponges filled with water, already saturated with information. To absorb new information, existing information must be displaced. If a company concentrates solely on its communication channels without understanding the user's mindset, it may find that even with substantial advertising expenditure, its brand doesn't secure a place in the user's mind. Consequently, users won't choose it. Ries and Trout identify three characteristics of the user's mind that marketers and advertisers must comprehend. 1. In every product category, the number of brands a user can remember is extremely limited. From a mental space perspective, it can only store a finite amount of information. According to Dr. George Miller, a Harvard University psychologist, the human mind can't simultaneously process more than 7 information units. This is why to-do lists typically have around 7 items. For most product categories, users generally don't remember more than 7 brands. Think about the camera brands you can recall: Nikon, Canon, Sony, for example. This number doesn't typically exceed 7 for most people. What's even more challenging is that even if your brand is one of those 7, it's not secure. Why? Ries and Trout believe that the user's mind is like a ladder, with brand information placed from top to bottom. Brands positioned at the top have the highest status in the user's mind and are often preferred. The further down the ladder a brand is, the lower its position, making it less likely for users to choose it. For most product categories, users usually choose only the top 2 brands. For instance, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, Meituan and ele.me, Mobike and OFO, or Yellow Bikes. 2. The second characteristic of the user's mind is that existing perceptions are challenging to change. From a structural perspective, a user's perception of a product or brand is often formed over a long period, sometimes decades or even centuries. Once users establish these ingrained perceptions, attempting to change them with a new product in a short amount of time is nearly impossible. So, don't try to change the long-standing user perceptions of a product or brand, it's unrealistic and impractical. Let's examine a marketing misstep by Coca-Cola. In 1985, Pepsi-Cola positioned itself as the cola for young people, capturing a 30% market share in North America, posing a threat to Coca-Cola's dominant position. In response, Coca-Cola rushed to introduce a new cola. Customer satisfaction with the new formula exceeded Pepsi-Cola by 6 percentage points in taste tests. So, Coca-Cola was confident. Unfortunately, the new cola was a colossal disaster and was quickly withdrawn. Coca-Cola reintroduced its classic cola. In this case, Coca-Cola didn't realize that, while changing the formula was relatively easy, changing long-held user perceptions of Coca-Cola's product and brand was exceptionally challenging. Classic Coca-Cola had become a symbol of America, with its taste being a shared memory for generations of Americans. The user's mind cannot be changed. Don't attempt to challenge deeply entrenched user perceptions with a new product. 3. The third characteristic of the user's mind is its susceptibility to information interference and confusion. From a temporal perspective, once other information intrudes, the user's perception of a brand can become muddled or even forgotten. In this era of information explosion, competitors can easily infiltrate the user's mind. This also means that the original product can be pushed out. Let's examine a case. In 2013, Samsung's market share in China reached a high of 20%. By 2017, it had plummeted to less than 3%, a severe decline. Why? On one hand, domestic brands like Huawei, Oppo, Xiaomi, and others surged in popularity. On the other hand, negative information such as battery explosions and a fad crisis continuously intruded into the user's mind, disrupting their perception of Samsung's brand and causing Samsung to rapidly decline on the user's mind ladder. Having understood the characteristics of the user's mind, you might be wondering, how can businesses make their products enter the user's mind? Summarizing positioning theory, there are 3 common methods: establishing leadership, leveraging authority, and simple repetition. Let me explain these 3 methods one by one. First, let's talk about the establishing leadership approach. This is one of the most commonly used marketing methods by businesses. It's popular because it aligns with the consumer's tendency to follow the crowd, especially in crowded, competitive markets. Let's revisit the intense marketing battle between Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola. Pepsi-Cola's marketing campaigns achieved success year after year, but who ultimately led the cola industry? It was Coca-Cola. For every 6 bottles of beverages sold by Coca-Cola, Pepsi could only sell up to 4. The second method to enter the user's mind is by leveraging authority. Consider this ad: Avis is only second in the rental car industry. Why do they try harder? Avis operated at a loss for 13 consecutive years. However, once they acknowledged their second-place position and stopped directly challenging Hertz, they started making profits. In the first year, Avis earned $1.2 million, in the second year $2.6 million, and in the third year $5 million. The company was then sold to ITT, International Telephone and Telegraph. Avis's success came from recognizing Hertz's position and refraining from a head-on confrontation. To understand Avis's success better, imagine looking at a mental ladder labeled rental car companies. On each rung, there's a brand name, with Hertz at the top, Avis on the second, and National Car Rental on the third. The brilliance of Avis's advertising slogan lies in the reader thinking, we try harder than Hertz. The third method to enter the user's mind is simple repetition. Once you've identified your product's positioning, you need to engage in straightforward, repetitive branding. Simplicity helps combat the complexity of interference, much like a sharp knife piercing the user's mind. Repetition, on the other hand, combats the forgetfulness of memory. In this fast-paced era, a silent brand is a forgotten brand. For example, when you mention Volvo, most people still associate it with safety. For Volvo, years of functional improvements have consistently reinforced its brand's safety features. In this age of information overload, you'll find slogans like, buy this product, choose this brand, everywhere you look. The more complex the external environment, the easier it is for the brain to forget. The strategy of simple repetition becomes more effective. To summarize the first part of positioning theory, user's mind, it was born in an era of product surplus. It emphasizes that a company's focus must shift from the product to the user's mind. The user's mind has 3 characteristics. 1. Users can remember a very limited number of brands in each product category. 2. Existing perceptions are challenging to change. 3. The mind is susceptible to information interference and confusion. To make a product enter the user's mind, there are 3 methods: establishing leadership, leveraging authority, and simple repetition. Here, we've completed the interpretation of the first part of this book. You might think that positioning theory is quite simple, like number 1 in sales, circling the globe in volume. I can use those slogans too. But if you think that, you'd be wrong. Slogans are just the surface of positioning. There are many directions in which positioning can be done. Finding the correct positioning is the key to marketing, and that's what the second part of this book is all about: finding positioning. In another classic work by Trout titled The Battle for Your Mind, he states that business is war. To succeed, a company must face its competitors, identify their weaknesses, and launch marketing campaigns targeting those weaknesses. But how can you find a competitor's weaknesses and initiate an attack? According to these 2 marketing masters, positioning can be categorized into 2 modes: leader positioning and follower positioning, based on a company's industry position. Let's start with the first mode, leader positioning. Leader positioning is the strategy adopted by the industry leader. In marketing, they emphasize their role as industry leaders, ensuring they remain at the top of the user's mind ladder. Trout's positioning, the battle for your mind, poses an interesting question: where should a 300-kilogram gorilla sleep? The answer is, wherever it wants to. An industry leader is like a 300-kilogram gorilla. They can maintain their leading position by inertia. For such companies, there are 2 key strategies: numerical superiority and brand focus. Microsoft is an example. No matter how many Office software products claim to be better, they can't change the fact that Microsoft's Office dominates the market. Microsoft's Office plus AI, OpenAI, focuses on efficiency and brand concentration. The second major strategy for leader positioning is maintaining brand focus, making your brand synonymous with a product category or specific feature in consumers' minds. For example, Volvo is associated with safety. If Volvo were to start emphasizing fashion, it would be brand extension and a disaster. It's an incorrect attribute extension. Rise, in his book Focus, suggests that companies should consider adding new T-levels to product lines rather than expanding product types within one T-level. Specifically, if General Motors wants to develop a budget car, it should not launch a Cadillac budget model. Instead, it should consider creating a new sub-brand and keeping these 2 brands as unrelated as possible. It's essential to note that brand extension doesn't necessarily result in an immediate loss. In the short term, leveraging the existing brand's visibility can save marketing costs for new products. However, in the long run, this can be hugely damaging to the brand, especially in intensely competitive markets. The second mode of positioning theory is follower positioning. As a follower, how can you challenge the industry leader? The art of positioning suggests finding a gap in consumers' minds. In simple terms, leader positioning means being the overall number 1 in the user's mind. Follower positioning, on the other hand, means being a local or specific category number 1 in the user's mind. Once you've found this gap, reduce your brand information, enter the user's mind, and firmly occupy that local first place. How can followers find this gap? The book provides 3 methods. The first method is finding gaps through demographic segmentation. Different demographics represent different preferences and needs. The era of one product for all users is over. Followers can target specific demographic groups and undertake differentiation positioning. Common positioning methods include utilizing gender and age gaps. Marlboro cigarettes are a successful example of leveraging gender positioning. When people mention Marlboro, they immediately think of the rugged cowboy image. However, Marlboro initially targeted the female market. In the early 20th century, after the end of World War I, American young women embraced hedonism and were indulged in champagne and beer. Marlboro was designed for this female audience. But Marlboro's sales were dismal. In 1954, a struggling Marlboro turned to the famous marketing planner Leo Burnett, who devised a plan to make more women buy Marlboro cigarettes. Burnett clearly wasn't bound by the proposition. He believed that Marlboro's previous brand image was too mild and not captivating enough. So, he boldly shifted Marlboro's gender positioning, targeting men instead. Simultaneously, Marlboro's character wasn't the white-collar urban man but the rugged, wild, and untamed Western cowboy. This character transformation gave Marlboro wings, entering the hearts of everyone longing for freedom. Since then, the mild and gentle Marlboro disappeared, and the rugged Marlboro was born. In 1955, Marlboro was listed as one of the top 10 cigarette brands in the United States. In 1975, Marlboro took the crown of the best-selling cigarette in the United States and eventually became a leading brand in the global tobacco industry. Besides gender, age is another common user gap. For instance, Pepsi positioned itself as the cola for the younger generation, narrowing the gap with the established leader, Coca-Cola. The second approach for followers is to find a gap in the product's appearance or functionality. When users make a purchase, they often consider multiple factors, such as the aesthetics, price, and functionality. Any of these factors represent opportunities for a company to find differentiation. Here, we'll focus on how to find a gap in appearance and functionality. Speaking of product appearance differentiation, we can't skip the classic case of the Volkswagen Beetle car. In the early 20th century, most car manufacturers were eager to make cars with longer, more streamlined, and attractive designs. However, the Volkswagen Beetle took a different approach with its short and wide car body. If judged by traditional automotive aesthetics, the Beetle's design was considered unattractive. However, when it was introduced, it became wildly popular in Europe. Not because people found ugliness appealing, but because the Beetle addressed their real needs. After World War II, with economic struggles, many families had tight budgets, and the Beetle was affordably priced. Its low cost satisfied people's basic need for transportation. Additionally, the Beetle had a sturdy body structure compared to similar cars, making it both economical and durable. These features contributed to the rapid popularity of the Beetle. After dominating the European market, Volkswagen began planning to enter the highly competitive American market. The United States, being a major automobile nation, presented challenges for Volkswagen as a foreign brand. To introduce the Beetle to Americans, Volkswagen hired the renowned advertising executive William Birnbach to create a classic marketing campaign, Think Small. Birnbach's approach was unconventional. It used self-deprecating humor and didn't try to hide the Beetle's small size and unconventional appearance. One of the advertisements humorously stated, 18 New York students crammed into a Beetle with the roof removed. It was really tight. The Beetle's reasonable space is designed for a family, mother, father, and 3 kids fit just right. This playful copy, rather than making fun of the Beetle, actually highlighted its small yet practical advantages. These advertisements created a massive buzz in the United States, and the Beetle gradually gained popularity in the American market. Volkswagen eventually became the third largest automaker in the world and the number 1 in Europe. So, by making a product small, Volkswagen found success. Conversely, making a product larger can also lead to success. For example, in 1934, Pepsi-Cola launched an assault on Coca-Cola with a large packaging strategy. At that time, Coca-Cola's beverage bottles held 6.5 ounces, while Pepsi-Cola decided to keep the price the same but increase the volume, introducing the 12-ounce large bottle of cola. Pepsi-Cola advertised that for the same price, you could get twice as much with Pepsi-Cola, making it the better choice. This strategy seemed simple, but it hit Coca-Cola where it hurt. On one hand, Coca-Cola had a large number of 6.5-ounce bottles. On the other hand, there were expensive soda machines on the market that only sold the standard-sized bottles. Coca-Cola couldn't easily follow Pepsi's strategy of increasing the volume. With this large packaging strategy, Pepsi-Cola surpassed other small cola brands during World War II, becoming the second-largest cola beverage, closely trailing Coca-Cola. The above examples illustrate how companies can find differentiation positioning through product appearance and size. However, not all products can find differentiation in appearance and size, so others must seek a breakthrough in different attributes. The third approach for followers is to find a gap opposite to competitors. The stronger the competitor, the more effective opposing them can be. In the positioning series of books, the author discusses the case of 7-Up. 7-Up entered the public's view in the 1920s but struggled for quite some time. Cola was the dominant beverage consumed during that era, with 2 out of every 3 bottles sold being cola. Due to its association with the American military during World War II, Coca-Cola became a part of American culture. In this context, the planners of 7-Up adopted a bold product positioning, not cola. They divided beverages into cola and non-cola categories. Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola naturally represented cola beverages, while 7-Up emerged as the strongest representative of non-cola drinks. It rapidly climbed to become the third largest beverage in the market. This not cola positioning may have been seen in many business analysis articles, but attentive readers might wonder why 7-Up doesn't continue to refer to itself as not cola today. If it worked back then, why the change? Well, understanding 7-Up's success at the time requires us to consider the historical context. After 7-Up introduced its not cola slogan in 1967, sales immediately increased, peaking in 1972. The backdrop was the countercultural movement of the post-World War II baby boomer generation, characterized by rebellion, nonconformity, and fascination with revolutionary ideologies like Che Guevara's. In this environment, not cola meant being different from their parents, who consumed cola. This positioning perfectly resonated with the spirit of the youth at that time. Additionally, the conditions for 7-Up to be in opposition to cola were that cola brands were overwhelmingly dominant. In the soft drink market, cola accounted for 2/3 of the share. But today, there are many competing brands outside of cola, such as Fanta and Sprite, and the entire cola market share has been declining. Times have changed, and today, boasting about being not cola no longer makes sense. Understanding these two factors helps us comprehend 7-Up's success in those years and the conditions for effectively using the competition gap. Let's review the essence of positioning one last time. It's divided into two parts: user mindset and finding positioning. In the user mindset section, the author proposes that in the era of product surplus, a company's focus should shift from the product to the user's mindset. In the user's mindset, products are like items placed on a ladder from top to bottom, and the higher the position, the more likely the user is to choose it. The user mindset has three characteristics. First, each user can remember only a limited number of brands in each category. Second, existing perceptions are difficult to change. Third, the user's mindset is easily influenced and can become confused. To address these characteristics, the book provides 3 methods for intervening in the user's mindset: establishing leadership, leveraging authority, and simple repetition. In the finding positioning section, I've summarized 2 modes: leader positioning and follower positioning. For industry leaders, the positioning strategy involves seizing leadership and brand focus. For followers, positioning theory suggests finding a gap in the user's mindset and becoming the first in a particular category or niche. How to find this gap? We've summarized it into 3 methods. 1. By segmenting the audience. 2. By looking for gaps in product appearance and functionality. 3. By finding gaps opposite to competitors. With that, we've covered the entire content of the book. About positioning theory, here are 2 final points. First, positioning theory is not only applicable in traditional industries but also in emerging ones like IT, the internet, e-commerce, shared mobility, various mobile apps, and more. Positioning battles unfold whenever companies face intense competition in any industry, making positioning theory a valuable business strategy. Second, positioning isn't a universal solution. It's a classic marketing strategy. Marketing can't solve all business problems, and neither can positioning. Positioning theory has been around for over 40 years, and today, it permeates every corner of the business world. If you observe various advertisements carefully, you'll see that positioning theory guides business wars all around us. Business battles are everywhere, and so is positioning. Alright, we've reached the end of this book. Congratulations on completing another book. Thank you all for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom and practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future together. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.